I'm Justine D. I'm a native New Yorker and a DJ and pastry chef, too. Growing up in Chinatown was very fast-paced. It was also a bit of a concrete jungle. I didn't have a backyard. There was nothing green around me, so I had a very urban existence. I was given keys at the age of 8 and told by my parents to go and explore the downtown area. I had my emergency quarter in case I needed to call, and I was given a lot of freedom. In an Asian family, you typically grow up with your elders. It was nice to have several generations close by because I think you grow up with a certain amount of respect for your elders, which I deem to be a very important thing. I started DJing by accident. So at that point, I was probably 22. A girlfriend of mine just asked me to spin records because she knew that I had quite an extensive collection by that point. She taught me how to DJ within 30 minutes, and I brought a whole bunch of vinyl and started that way. I think at that first gig, I got paid $40 to DJ for 3 hours, and I thought it was the most amazing thing ever. I moved to Brooklyn 13 years ago, and I chose Brooklyn because at first it was more affordable, and when you're a broke kid, you have to use your resources wisely. But in that time, I've really learned to love living in Brooklyn because it's quieter, and while I've definitely DJ'd in Brooklyn and I've run clubs in Brooklyn, but for me, Brooklyn is kind of an escape from my career. So I love Brooklyn because it's a more pastoral existence while still living in the city.
If this is passion, I never give. It keeps me searching for heart of gold. And I'm getting old.
This is all new, Jen? Right, yeah. Is this resort? This is holiday, right?
Yeah.
Or, okay.
I thought you would love.
I know. Bird is like the first store for me to really embrace the Brooklyn community. And I guess when I say that, it's anything from fashion designers to fine artists to DJs like myself and even musicians. So I feel like people come here to support one another whenever she has an event, and then of course to support Bird as well.
Do you sell leather shorts?
Because I just bought a pair of Philip Lynn leather shorts, and I love, but I want more.
Okay.
So if you...
When I was looking to expand, Williamsburg seemed like the natural place because it is the sort of cultural center of, food and music and art, and a lot of what's being produced here in Brooklyn is being produced, in a very near radius to the store. And I also, this neighborhood has a bit of an industrial background, so I could find a space big like this. And really there was a community of creative, smart, amazing people living here and doing very interesting things here. And so it was very natural for me to want to base the business here and keep it based here and really think of it as something by Brooklyn, something for Brooklyn, and really have it be an inclusive part of all the neighborhoods that it's located in.
lot of records that are completely mixed up. They haven't been in alphabetical order in years. First, I started with tapes when I was 13. I never saw that as a music collection, but vinyl started at 17. I can pretty much find anything that I'm looking for somehow. And, you know, my tastes generally lie under rock, but rock is such a broad term to me. Like, I love disco, I love Detroit techno, I love dance music too. And those are genres of music that I've played also for quite a few years as well. But, you know, I love old 50s guitar music like Link Ray too, which then to me goes to a band like the Cramps, which I'm a big fan of. I can't find their records because it's somewhere in here. But so I find a lot of connections between older music, and then it spawned a band that came like 20 years after that had a similar sound, and even now too. I considered myself to be a true collector of records at the age of 17. Oh, and I found my Cramps record. Great. There. This is one of my favorite records of all time. Hi. Can I just get one sweetbread? I started baking in 2007, and before then I had never cooked before in my life.
Just that one.
So I would come home from DJing at 4 a.m. and I'd start baking in my kitchen as a form of therapy to kind of wind down. You know, you've just dealt with 1,000 people and you've DJ'd to a crowded room of club goers. So it was my way of coming down from that high of spinning to a really big room of people. And up here is where I keep most of my sugars and spices and have at my fingertips. And this is where I do most of my baking, is right here on this kitchen island. In late 2008, I realized that I wanted it to be my next career and kind of a second career as well, because I never wanted to give up DJing. So I decided to go to school. I learned classic French pastry, which at the end of the day is amazing because you get to work with sugar and butter and flour, which are three of my favorite things, and you make beautiful things that you get to eat and share with other people. I worked at a bakery in Brooklyn called 4 and 20 Blackbirds, which focuses on everything that's very American.
Melissa and I started our business from our apartment in Crown Heights in 2009, and we opened our storefront in 2010, in the spring of 2010. So we're approaching our third year of business. And I guess you, Justine, you worked with us in the early days, pretty early on.
I feel like I joined you in early 2011, and then I started here like February of 2011.
Yeah,
and then I was with
right.
them for a little over 1 year.
Yeah. You opened up on Sunday mornings.
I did.
All the Sunday morning pastries.
I did. It was fun. I like to call myself the Sunday baker. And then I did production work for them on Mondays. On Mondays, they're closed. You guys still close on Mondays?
We are.
Okay, good for you, yeah. How, you can't get more American than making pie. And honestly, like Emily and Melissa are, I feel like the only pie game in town. There's no, it's true. I mean, I've never grown up, like I grew up in New York, and there was never a spot that we went to get great pie. So when they opened, I think they answered a lot of people's prayers.
We had grown up in a restaurant and our grandmother baked pies, and that became an inspiration to us, so we started doing it from home. And there's been a great fostering of like independent handmade food in Brooklyn in the last, I don't know, I feel like it's been well over 6 years or something since we started, a real embrace of things that are handmade and that are kind of back to an old-fashioned way and not necessarily mass-produced. And I think there's, the embrace of it here is very strong, and that was inspiring to us and has definitely helped build our business.
We are going to the Maritime Hotel to meet Michael T., who is a fellow DJ and my former motherfucker partner. Motherfucker was a traveling party that only happened on 3-day weekends, so it was on the eve of a major holiday. We were active for 8 years, and it was the biggest rock and roll party in New York. Michael had the idea to start Motherfucker. He was the first one.
I approached 3 promoters, friends, whatever. One of them being Justine, the other 2 being Johnny T and Georgie Seville. Those were our other 2 partners. And basically I said, listen, I think if we sort of just converge our talents, we can have a really special kind of rock and roll party. But if the heart of the party, which was the music and getting the kids there sort of excited and dancing and you know, couldn't wait to hear everything from their favorite songs to the kind of a surprise to something totally left field, you know. And when you're able to take people on a journey, it gives you so much more leverage as a DJ. Yeah. And it just, you know, it opens everything up. I don't think if we had established that from the beginning, I don't know if the party would have maybe had grown and with the momentum that it did, you know, because it really was just ascended.
Electric Room is probably one of the only venues I would say left in Manhattan, or I feel like in the 5 boroughs, where you're applauded for playing more obscure rock music and rock music period, because New York for the past 10 years has really been about like top 40 and more mainstream music. Electric is a great place to DJ because you can play things like Link Ray or Bauhaus, or even a lot of new bands too, and it's celebrated rather than frowned upon. So we're really given complete artistic freedom there to be rock DJs. My baking music plan is combined. It's the only 2 things I really love, and I love that I know how to do well. So I would love to open up my own bakery that is music-centric. A lot of people are confused when I say this. They say, how do music and baking have anything to do with one another? To me, it makes total sense. An idea that I had is to name some of the dishes that I make after songs. There's a Morrissey song called You're the One for Me, Fatty. And I feel like I would make a very decadent, rich, chocolate-based dessert out of that. So I think it's something that can really thrive in New York. I plan to open that up within the next 2 years. And I think it should be in Brooklyn as well.
We weren't feeling that great about New York because already Giuliani had made some changes. Giuliani was our mayor who came in after David Dinkins, and he just started to really change the city in terms of its nightlife, and was enforcing certain rules that were always kind of whatever, you know, not taken very seriously. And it started to shift the city in terms of some of its abandonment.
That's why I think it's happening in maybe some of the outer boroughs, because like what Manhattan used to be and like what the East Village used to be and Soho, filled with artists. They had no money. That's where you lived. And when you get priced out, you have to move. So I feel like in the past, 20 20 years, people have started to move outside of Manhattan.